Hello and welcome to CS230. This is lecture 24 and this is lesson 2. I've been asked a few times already about what to do when you're generating a new user interface that consumes a RESTful API. And maybe you're in a situation where you don't have the API available already. So for example, it might be some MongoDB backend that somebody else is working on or you're working on and haven't got to yet. And or maybe you're working on an assignment where you just didn't manage to get a fully completed RESTful API design as part of one assignment, and then that's used in a later assignment. And you still want to be able to develop the user interface. And there are lots of ways of developing user interfaces. You know, you could be using a straightforward jQuery UI type scenario like we used last time in conjunction with Bootstrap. You could be using AngularJS, you could be using React, Vue, any of these things at all. And you might still want to be able to develop something. So one thing you can do is to develop a Test JSON REST Server using a package called json-server. Not surprisingly. Okay, so obviously I haven't finished the introduction. I'll finish that later. But basically what we want to be able to do is to show you how to set up and run a fake web server that supplies some JSON. And we can do that quite easily. It'll take a lot of work. I have one running here. It's called json-server, and I've installed and set this up, and I've got a quotations database set up here, and I generated some random data for this as well. And we can go quickly and have a peek to see that it's running on port 3200. It has a quotation, so I'm checking here, and I'm able to look, and I've got some random quotations. I've got an ID that's been generated randomly. I have a lorem ipsum text for the quotation that's been generated randomly, and some random authors, and those names look pretty real. So we see a little bit about how we might actually do that as well using a package called faker. So we're going to put the whole lot together and have something that can be used as part of an API that you can query and develop user interface for, even if you don't have your Mongoose set up already. So we'll go back and have a peek at how to do this. So really, it's about creating this test or fake REST server, and we do it by installing json-server. And then we can create a database file that will contain the quotations. And we're going to call this the database.json. Okay. If you want to find out about json-server, you can just go and have a look at this GitHub account here. The address is included in this document, which I'll be supplying, of course, as well. So what I've done, first of all, is I made this directory called json-server quotations. And let me kill this one here, so you'll see. And you'll see that this is all sitting quite nicely down here. So I have this directory created already, and then I installed json-server, and I used npm to install this, and that was fine. Now it was a standalone app, and then I created a simple database file called database.json, and into it I just popped a small piece of JSON. Obviously it's a quotation, and it's going to contain a list of quotations. So now we could do is we could just pop all that stuff into that if we wanted. That's how our database file will look like. I mean, we can open it and have a peek at the one that we have already. And the one I have currently contains a whole bunch of fake data. And this is the file. Okay, so contains all of this, and you can see. So there's, you know, you've seen me generate some fake data in the past, but we want to do it quickly now. We don't want to be writing code every time and working all sorts of stuff like we did with names and addresses and townlands and homelands and for Irish stuff that I did previously. So anyway, so that's it set up. Now, what I would like to do, of course, is to install Faker. Okay, and Faker is a really nice piece of a node software that allows you to be able to generate large amounts of fake data. It's pretty good. Go to GitHub, mark faker.js, and you'll find out how to do this. And it's very, very easy. So what we do is I just created, installed faker using npm install faker/save, and then I generated 100 fake quotation records. Has an ID, has a quotation, has an author, and I used faker.sentence, faker.findName, and then I created a file called generate.js in the json-server directory that I had already, and then that generated, I could use this to generate a database of fake quotations. So, you know, you can have a look at it. Here's my file. We can go and peek in the actual code, and here's generate faker. So I just required the library faker that I just installed. The database is just going to be quotations. This is our normal piece of JSON, iterating over 100, and I'm going to push into this array here an ID, a quotation, and that's going to be just a number that I iterate. I'm going to use faker.run.sentence to generate a sentence string. You could sentences for a whole package, for a whole passage of text, a name, and I'm going to use find name. There's lots of ways of doing these, and then I'm just going to actually stringify the output and dump it to the keyboard or to the console. Sorry. So it's fairly straightforward. Let me go into so I'm marking that here. I see generators here. So I'm just generating fake data. Easy as anything. Okay, so now we have data that's generated, so we have a database that we can work with. So the next thing we need to do is be able to use that database as a source file for JSON server. So let's get back and see a little bit how we might do that. So that's all working. Okay, so what I did is I generated this alias to create this fake data. Okay, so I have a file called I have a command called generate, and that replaced that command that I just did. I just typed generate, and I'm able to look at all the data. So if you wanted to play with it, you'll see that I did created this alias already, and I can go. I'm in the wrong directory. Okay, so I just have a command generate, and that just updates my database file for me. So it's every time I run it, it can generate some new data. It's kind of nice. Every time I call this generate command here, so that's useful to have and something quick and easy to remember. So now I wanted to actually then launch JSON Server because I've already installed it. And what JSON Server will do is I've created this alias, just JSON Server, and it runs JSON Server, which I've installed, and it's with npm. I'm going to run it on port 3200. I'm going to watch this file here that I've generated already, my database.json file in the quotations. And then I just run it. Okay, and that's all I do. I just say JSON Server, I generate, and I run, and I have some data provided. So let's go there. I've already generated some data, so now we'll just go JSON Server. Okay, I did all this, and I'm running and listening on port 3200. So let's go there and have a peek. So let's have a look at this on 3000, and here's all my data. Perfect. And I can do all my own. This is a proper JSON service. I can actually add this quotation now. So I'll just make a post request to quotations. I'm going to supply this data. I'm going to send it to my JSON server. Got the data. Let's go back and have a look at get, send. With a bit of luck, I should have. Yep, there's my quotation at the end, and it's got it. So it works perfectly. I can update. Look, I can just make an error. For example, I can just say. Put, and I'll change the quotation here to be, oh, I've got them wrong, right? So the quotation is here. I'll pop that in there. I'm going to change this to be Darth Vader. Make those changes there. Okay, I'm going to send. So this was ID 100 here. But quotations, why did I not find this one? Oh, because I didn't supply an ID. Okay, let's go back and supply the ID. I think the ID was 100. Was it ID? Sorry. Oh, I've added ID. So yeah, so I've changed it. Okay, so let's find out. I can go back to my list. And I have my list, and everything just seems to be behaving quite nicely. Okay, so that was good. So it's a proper RESTful server that we can use with and that provides a RESTful API, and we can use this for testing. And we know how to generate fake data as well. So that's all very easy. Now, what do we do next with this? Okay, I've just included some examples of how you can make this work, but it works for all the endpoints. You know, it provides us with all of the various endpoints. I knew what to do because I'd seen these endpoints before when I knew that made an error that I had to supply the ID as part of the actual endpoint. But these are the endpoints that are provided by JSON REST Server and by default, and you can do some other work. And I mean, I did some example tests already there to show you this. Okay, so what we can do is we can actually reuse our API interface with the JSON test server if we wanted. So we can actually integrate it into the test server into our app that we previously generated. So we could point our API that we've generated now, or we can include that in our example program that we generated for quotations. So what we really need to do is we need to change the root function in the quotation.controllers.js file that uses the request. I'm going to replace that with this. Okay, so we're going to point to the quotations function here rather than this is a quotation controller.test I've generated, and that means we can use this rather than linking to our MongoDB database. So I made a new quotations controller.test file. So I'm going to access that one, and I'm going to use roots.test to set up a root to call this, and then that would be fairly straightforward to do. So I'm going to use these roots here, so that's okay. So I could set all of that up, and it will work just fine. And you can try this yourself, and you can update the file. And I haven't done all of them, but I can access it and pull them all into my project here if I want. Also, I can just make a small change to the addition to the forms that we have inside in the system, and that will allow us to be able to add to the database as well. And we can do all that kind of tests as well if we want to do it. We could try that, I suppose, and just have a little bit. I mean, the lesson will become a little bit longer, but we could go to controllers.test. So I should have all of these. So I've made the changes already. So let me just see if I can find these. Okay. So we'll go back to week 11, because that's where the working code is. And you'll see I have controllers.test here. Let's open this one. And you'll see that I have made a very simple test here. So this is all the controllers that we have. We're looking at the quotations, and we're going to pull the information from there rather than from a MongoDB database. Now, what else did we have? We open our roots, and I probably have a roots test as well here. Where's my, yeah, there's roots. I have this roots, okay, and we've just got a single controller because we're just looking at one of them. That would be fine. And we'll have a look at the server file as well. I suspected that I changed that one too. So let's open this one here, and we go to app. Oh, we go back up again, quotations app. And I probably have a server test somewhere. Server test. I'll open this. And the server test should be dealing with the roots here. Okay, so let's just run this one and see what happens when we run our test. Okay. Okay, so I'm here running test. I have my database running down here, my fake database running, or fake, sorry, not fake database, well, it is a fake database, but it's also got a fake RESTful API in front of it. Has this running here, and now that means we just need to go and check our software. And we just, yeah, this is running locally, and let's see what happens. Yep, we're getting the data, local data, okay, and it's fine. Yeah, so it's, and you can see it's pulling in the data, the most recent one that I updated as well. Okay, so we can use that very easily, and we can set up Express. Now, if you want to do something, the minimal one, okay, and you want to just start getting yourself going, of course, this one of the things you could do is just to set up your minimal solution here, okay? If you really want to understand how it all works, and I think I have a very minimal solution available for you as well. So I have, here's a very simple, here's a very simple Express. This is the minimal app, okay? So we can actually root JSON server, embed JSON server directly in our Express app rather than having it running somewhere else. So I can make it all run, and I can just set up a server. I can use JSON server here as part of the root if I install that and add it to our package, and then I can just make a very simple Express app that runs and shows the data working. So that's I think I've called this Express demo. Let me just do this, and I'm going to kill this one. Okay, so kill this one. Where are we? The demos. Let's have a look. Let's go to. Okay, is it here? Yeah, I have an Express demo here. So let's just run this one. Okay, so I have a JSON server running on port 3400, and it's got Express. So what's happening is that the JSON server has been running and routing through Express, so I can use that API. So now I'm going to look at setting up this. Can't connect to the server because I'm on 3200, so I have it running on 3400. So we would expect. I'm going to send. Yeah, and we can see that we're getting information here coming to our JSON server, routed through Express, even though I wasn't running it separately, and it works just fine. Okay, so we can do all sorts of fun things with setting up test environments. I've included the code here on how to integrate Express JSON server. Integrating JSON server with ExpressJS as well. So that's it. All fairly straightforward. Lots of ways of doing it. Lots of ways of making it work. And then you can develop user interfaces independently of having a database running in the back end or actually having a fully working RESTful API. Okay. Thank you very much for watching.